Hey guys, how are you? What's up? This is Debbie. I'm back with more True Crime of Criminal Minds. Today we're talking about Season 1, Episode 10, The Popular Kids, and the Satanic Panic of the 80s, and the McMartin preschool trials. Stay tuned. We're talking about the Satanic Panic is because of Season 1, Episode 10 of Criminal Minds, The Popular Kids. See you in a bit.
Morning. John Bridges.
Yeah, we spoke on the phone. I'm Agent Giroux. This is Agent Gideon and Dr. Reed with the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit.
Hi. Thanks for coming out so fast.
Yeah, of course.
There was an in-service in Charlottesville last year said if we ran into any unusual homicides, we were supposed to call you folks sooner rather than later.
Yeah, they were right.
So is this unusual enough?
It certainly is interesting.
You guys must get a lot of this, huh? Satanic stuff?
Not really. Who found the body?
Hiker found the first one at the trail. My deputies located this one while searching for evidence. Don't even know if it's a man or a woman.
It's a man. Male pelvis is more narrow, and the opening at the bottom is heart-shaped as opposed to oval. Melted wax?
Candle wax?
Candles are used in rituals.
Also used on birthday cakes.
Actually, they were originally used to protect the birthday celebrant from demons for the coming year. As a matter of fact, down to the 4th century, Christianity rejected the birthday celebration as a pagan ritual.
What kind of doctor are you?
Episode this week is called The Popular Kids, and it starts off with two teenagers, a girl and a boy, Cherish, Hanson, and her boyfriend Adam. She gets tired and has to stop. So he goes on ahead of her, and then when she starts running again, she finds his body, and then she is kidnapped. So when the local police are looking for her, they come across what they think is a shrine to Satan. On a tree, like in the clip, it says Satan lives, there's a pentagram, and the initials LOD, and there's a dead body and candle wax. So they think it's some type of satanic ritual. Then the BAU gets called in because they're supposed to call in any satanic ritual type weird crimes to the FBI. They go out and they look at the shrine, and as they're investigating, Gideon talks to a teenage girl who says that wasn't there. That somebody had found a dead body, and they would go out there every day to watch the various stages of decomposition. Ooh. And the carvings in the tree were not there. They've already realized that that cannot be the body of Cherish Hanson. Number one, it's a male, and number two, it's just a skeleton at this point. So the BAU gives the profile, and the sheriff's son, Corey Bridges, says, I know somebody like that. His name's Mike Zizzo. So they bring him in and they question him, and he says they don't do that kind of stuff. All they do is get drunk, get high, and listen to heavy metal music. Everybody is still looking for Cherish, and Corey takes Reed and Derek out to the house where he knows that Mike Zizzo hangs out and has his parties. And from there, you need to watch the episode because it has a twist ending that I don't want to give away. So enjoy, and don't forget to subscribe so you can be entered into the giveaway, and stay tuned until the end for a sneak peek of next week. My sources for today are Wikipedia, 2 YouTube channels, one with a really weird name. No, this one is old, LMAO. And on that channel, I watched Uncovered, the McMartin family trials, which was originally aired on Oxygen. And another YouTube channel called Great Trials of World History and What We Learned from Them. The Satanic Panic was a moral panic in the 80s. And let me tell you, this was a real panic. I was raised in a devoutly Christian home. I'm still a devout Christian. But as a teenager in the 80s, when all this was going on, we were hounded. It was pounded into our heads. Don't associate with anybody you don't know. Be careful of the type of people you hang out with. Do not go anywhere with anyone unless you know where you're going and who they are. Call when you get there. Call when you're ready to leave, and I will come pick you up. Or if you were with somebody else, call when you leave, and then call me again when you get to their house. It was like, oh my God, if I let my kid out, now they're gonna turn to Satan. It was insane. It was insanity. It was ridiculous. The reason why the Satanic Panic started, there was a woman named Michelle Smith, and she wrote a book with her psychiatrist, Dr. Lawrence Pasdar, about her uncovered memories of SRA. Satanic Ritual Abuse. It's the only time I'm going to say it. Her psychiatrist, who later became her husband, got recovered memories of her SRA through hypnosis and leading questions, which experts say is the number one reason for the Satanic Panic, was the interview process. And you're going to see how that comes to be a real thing in this trial. Virginia McMartin started the McMartin preschool in 1956 in Manhattan Beach, California. It was a well-respected school. The teachers were respected. It was a pillar of the community until 1983, when Judy Johnson called the police. She said her 2.5-year-old little boy had been SA'd by her ex-husband and his preschool teacher, Ray Bucky. She also said 2 other students at the school were being SA'd. She said that Virginia McMartin had taken her son to church where there were satanic rituals, and he saw babies being made to drink. Judy Johnson was a paranoid schizophrenic and an alcoholic. And that was never disclosed to the defense. The DA recommended Key McFarland as the person to interview the kids to find out what happened. Now, Key McFarland worked for Children's Institute International, CII, and she was not a therapist or a psychologist or a psychiatrist. She had a bachelor's degree in psychology. That was the only credentials she had. And she questioned the kids with puppets. And the puppet would say, "Tell me your yucky secrets. We like yucky secrets." Initially, the kids did not report that anything happened to them. But with leading questions and lies saying, "Oh, your other schoolmate said such and such happened." And kids, especially kids that age, they like to please adults. So they're going to say what they think they're supposed to say. They don't know any different when they're that age. They have no idea. And the DA decided to prosecute. They called them the McMartin 7. 7 people were arrested. Virginia McMartin, who started the school. Peggy McMartin Bucky, which was Virginia's daughter. Ray Bucky, Virginia's grandson. Peggy Bucky, which was Virginia McMartin's granddaughter. All 4 of them worked there. Also, Betty Rader, Babette Spittler, and Mary Ann Jackson. Dr. Astrid Hager also examined the children. Now, back in the 80s, she had a theory as to why child SA cases didn't always go to court. And that was because back then, the only report was a physical examination that was written down. So whoever examined the patient wrote down what they saw. There was no testing or any type of scientific evidence or proof. So what Astrid Hager did is she started taking pictures to document the SA. Now, that's standard practice now. I was a pediatric nurse for 5 years, and pictures of any suspected, any type of abuse or anything. Pictures, photograph. So it's become standard now, but back then it wasn't. Because of all this evidence, they arrested these 7 people. 6 months after the first allegations, it was reported in the media, which another thing that should have never happened. And the reporter that reported on it was Key McFarland's boyfriend. So he said in the news all these accusations, which the other media outlets picked up. And the DA did a poll. 90% of LA believed that they were guilty without even having a trial. So the media really influenced this case as well. The kids, when they were talking to Key McFarland, made outlandish allegations. They were taken to graveyards where they were made to dig up and mutilate bodies. They were taken to circuses, farms, other houses, on a plane. All these different places they were taken to be SA'd. They played naked cowboy and Indians, naked movie star games. The naked movie star games, they were made to undress and get on a stage, and then pictures were taken of them. Because a lot of these allegations were done in public view, the naked movie star games, naked cowboys and Indians, some kids said it happened on the playground, they were taken to circuses, you know. So they figured that all of the teachers had to be complicit. They said that they were given drugs, cut with knives, taken into tunnels underneath the building where there were altars set up with pictures of the devil and candles and pentagrams, and that they were involved in these rituals, and that's where the SRA happened, underneath the school. Where the kid said the opening to the tunnel was a flat wall that has never, there were no signs of it had ever been like patched up, like a tunnel had been patched up or anything like that. It was just a plain wall that the kids claimed there was a tunnel behind it. 2 kids claimed there was a tunnel there. On March 22nd, 1984, the grand jury came back with 105 counts of charges for the McMartin 7. And 2 months later, 93 counts were added. The next day, on March 23rd, was the bail hearing. The bail was set between $50,000 to $1 million. Peggy McMartin Bucky's bail was $1 million. Ray Bucky was remanded. And I think that some of the people didn't have the bail and were in jail for a while. Back then there was a lady named Catherine Wilson, and she was called the Queen of Kiddie Porn. And they thought that maybe the McMartins were part of her kiddie porn ring. So they took pictures of the students and compared them to the pictures of kiddie porn, and none of the pictures were of the McMartin preschool kids. At this point, politics enters into this way more than it should have. The DA, Vandekamp, was promoted to Attorney General. And the governor brought in Phil Bozian to be the interim DA. Running for DA against him was Ira Reiner. Fabosian sat at the council table. He wanted this case to help him get elected as the permanent DA. Well, he didn't win the DA race. Ira Reiner did, and therefore the case became his. Ray Bucky's defense attorney arranged a symbolic surrender for him, but the DA refused and had the cops go to his house. They went to all the houses of the McMartin 7 and walked them out of their houses with the media present so everybody could see the arrest. They searched 9 different places for 10 months to try to find evidence that the children were taken to these places like they said and essayed, and they could not find the first bit of evidence. On June 8, 1984, the preliminary hearing started. McMartin said that the kids were too afraid of Ray Bucky to testify. They were afraid that Ray would retaliate and do something to them. So they made a kiddie-friendly area where they could interview the kids. I think it was kind of like a tape deposition. I don't think it was like what we would call now a Zoom call. It wasn't like that. It was recorded. And eventually they had live witnesses in the hearing. But it started off with, I think it was 14 kids that they taped interviews of. So 14 kids testified. Every single one told a different story. No 2 story matched, especially about the naked movie star games. No 2 stories matched with the kids. Assistant DA Glenn Stevens resigned from the DA office because of this case. He said that the kids had embellished their stories and it should have never gone to trial. So he quit. Kudos to him. The prosecution didn't even watch the videos that McMartin had made of the interviews with the kids. And they didn't give it to the defense. And the defense fought to get to see those tapes. And they made the defense look at them in a neutral area. They wouldn't even give them to the defense to watch. They had to set it up like a meeting at the Beverly Hills courthouse. That's how the defense attorneys got to watch the tapes. And they said it was horrible. It was very obvious that she was leading the kids and getting them to say what she wanted them to say. Ira Reiner won the DA case. And it's his case now. So after the preliminary hearing, he dropped 5 of the charges and only charged Peggy McMartin Buckley and her son Ray Bucky. 4 years after the initial allegations, on July 17th, 1987, the trial started. Opening arguments. There was a man named George Freeman. He was arrested. I don't even know what he was arrested for. Apparently some minor offense. And he was put in Bucky's cell for less than 48 hours. He was in the cell for less than 48 hours. And then he went back to the DA and told them that Ray Bucky had confessed to him. So he testified against Bucky to get immunity on his charge. The defense in this documentary that I watched, the defense attorney said that the DA actually got investigated after this, because what they would do, they would take somebody with a minor charge, they would tell them what this other person did, tell them everything that they were charged with, then put them in the cell with them, and then a day or two later, the snitch would tell the DA, and then they would get immunity. So this was not an isolated case of them doing this, and they were investigated about this. George Freeman testified And then he didn't show up the second day that he was supposed to testify. So they went to his house. They had to break down the door. And I don't know what he'd been up to, but they brought him to the courtroom. They asked the judge for a recess to get him cleaned up. But the judge denied it. And the judge denied it, he said, because everybody knew what kind of person he was. Cleaning him up wasn't going to make a difference. The judge was in one of the documentaries that I watched, and he said that. There were 2 other doctors that testified for the prosecution. And they also looked at the pictures that Dr. Hager had taken, and they said that there were signs of SA and scarring on these kids. The defense asked all 3 doctors individually, show me where the scarring is on that picture. And all 3 doctors showed him different areas. So the doctors, while they were agreeing that there was scarring, they didn't agree about where the scarring was. After 3 years of testimony, it finally went to the jury. Peggy McMartin, Bucky, was acquitted on all counts. And Ray Bucky had a hung jury. So Ray Bucky got a second trial with no new evidence. Before the second trial, there were marches by outraged parents that would carry signs and march out in front of the courthouse and in front of the preschool. And they wanted to dig under the preschool and look for the tunnels. So they were granted 1 month access to dig under that building. They hired an archaeologist. And the DA also hired an archaeologist. And the man found, I believe his name was Spitzler, I think. He found underneath the house a metal plate that had a pentagram on it. And he said he found all these tunnels. Well, if you watch the video, I mean, this was videotaped. You can see him. He's digging out underneath. There's no tunnels. He's making tunnels by digging them out. And then his co-workers discounted his report. His own peers did not believe that he found tunnels. There were no tunnels under the school, and there were no breaks in any walls in the school that led to a tunnel. So there are pictures of the actual tunnels. Here they are. In January of '89, Ira Reiner ran for Attorney General, and he claimed going to the second trial was not due to political motivations at all. But really? Do you think? Don't you think he was like, I need a win so they can vote me into being Attorney General? What do you think? Reiner lost the AG race, the Attorney General race, and was not reelected to DA either. The defense went to the DA, went to the prosecutors, and they had a meeting about a plea deal. And for some reason, that was recorded, and it was not supposed to be recorded. The defense attorney swears that he didn't do it and he didn't know it was being recorded. The prosecution thinks that he absolutely did record it. But at any rate, however it happened, it got leaked out to a reporter, and a reporter asked Ira Reiner if it was true. And he was like, no, it's not true. We didn't offer him a plea deal. Now, the defense attorney says he wasn't going to take the plea deal. He just wanted to see if they would make one. And I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know if that means they give him a plea deal because they're afraid they're going to get off if they don't. I don't know. I don't truly understand the significance of that. But if you do, you can tell me down in the comments, and then I'll be educated. Thank you. In the second trial, they tried to discredit Bucky back in the 80s. Okay, let me lay the groundwork first. Back in the 80s, there was this weird pyramid craze. And it was like pyramids had power, and pyramids would grant you everything you wanted. And Bucky actually had like a hat that was like a pyramid hat, and they try to discredit him because, you know, the preschool, they vet their teachers. When I was a preschool teacher, I had to be fingerprinted and background check and the whole 9 yards. So they vet their teachers, are supposed to vet their teachers. So the implication was, this guy's into pyramids, he must be crazy, and you let him teach our kids. So he met a woman named Barbara Goals at a pyramid convention, which I didn't know that was a thing. I remember the pyramid craze, but I didn't know they had conventions. So he meets this woman. She testifies on the stand that she tried to seduce him, and he would not have anything to do with her. And trying to prove he doesn't like women, he likes kids. But she lied. She was engaged at the time. She did have a one-night stand with Bucky, but she didn't want to get back to her fiance, so she lied. So that was totally discredited. Key McFarland, now I only heard this in one documentary, and I don't know any more details, and it blows my mind, and I need to know. I have questions. Key McFarland, who was the prime witness for the prosecution, actually testified for the defense in the second trial. I have a feeling that was not her choice. I have a feeling that she was a hostile witness, that she didn't want to testify for them. She believed that those kids had been SA'd. She believed her method was correct, because that's everything she said in the first trial. So I don't think she just flipped the script. I think they called her to discredit her. The second trial, another hung jury, and the DA declined to prosecute a third time. After 7 years and $15 million trial, all the charges were dropped against him. Charges were dropped. The only one that was acquitted was Peggy McMartin Bucky, his mom. She was the only one that got acquitted. Everybody else just had the charges dropped. So these poor people, this thing, it changed their lives. It tainted their lives, their reputations. They lost their jobs, lost money, was in jail for a period of time, had to pay big bail. I mean, it was destructive to so many families and the teachers at that school. It was really terrible, and it really ruined these people's lives. I mean, can you imagine being falsely accused of something so heinous and then not be given bail and have to go to jail with other people? Because, you know, I'm not going to say the word. You know what I'm talking about. The P word. They don't fare well in prison because other criminals don't like that. Which is kind of ironic. But yeah, it would have been really bad. Imagine if you were in that place and you hadn't done anything. You had to be there for years while they're trying. 7 years it took that trial. 7 years. And then the charges were dropped. Life is ruined. 7 years wasted. You know, it's just, I shudder to think. Okay, guys, so that's it for the McMartin preschool trials and the episode, The Popular Kids. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Bye!